Hello and welcome to our program. On our show today, a rather unusual guest, Sri Ratanjit Sondhe, an entrepreneur, a polymer scientist who straddled the world of commerce for nearly 35 years, did work through a concept of value-based business, and then decided to take his learnings to the larger world. And today, that is what he does with such wonderful delight and compassion. Please welcome Ratanjit. Welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me. It is my pleasure.
Pleasure to have you here. You know, somewhere when we say value-based business, people think of it as an oxymoron. That how can you have values in business? And I think you have actually walked the path and now are taking it to the larger world. So what is value-based business?
Well, I learned it the hard way. When I started my business in '73, I had no business experience. I was basically a polymer scientist who actually went from here after having 2 master's degrees and to get my PhD in America. But before I completed my PhD, I started my business in '73. As a default, your attorney, your accountant, your banker become your advisor. They look at this guy who is still tying this headgear in America, which at that point there were no Silicon Valleys, so we were still considered snake charmers from India. And at that point, their advice was, I said, look, Ratanjit, with all due respect, all these degrees are great, but you are a scientist. You are not a businessman. So hire people with a lot of experiences. So that's what I did. I had people with a lot of experience, and I had 7 vice presidents, and company was buzzing. And fast forward to 1980, the same advisor come to me and said, Ratanjit, there is something dramatically wrong. We have to sit down with you, and there is a very bad news and maybe a good news. So they came in my office, locked the door. He says, look, I don't know how to tell you any other way, but you are completely bankrupt. There's no money. I said, what is the good news? He said, well, you are in America. Here, this thing is done often. We can file for Chapter 11, bankruptcy, and negotiate your debtors for pennies on the dollars. We can save you millions of dollars. And this is done. And they gave several examples. Look at this guy who is successfully. He has filed 4 times. He has filed 2 times. He has filed 3 times. So there's no bad name, and your customers will not know. Your supplier will still sell you materials. So you're not doing anything wrong. This is done. This is business. So at that point, it was very unsettling for me because, first of all, I tried to integrate everybody working in the company, but they were all parked in silos, and they were not even talking to each other. The sales department was not talking to the research and manufacturing, and they were all vested in their personal interest. They had no, and at that time, I took all the books home and analyzed, and I was shocked to realize that 90% of the revenue was brought by this guy who did not know anything about business. And my 90% of the time was spent on these guys correcting the wrong sales made. So it didn't take me long to realize that this is not working. I had to start fresh. And at that time, the profound wisdom instilled in me at childhood by my mother was surfacing. And my mother was a very profound scholar of scriptures. She knew Bible as thoroughly as Upanishads, Vedas, Quran, and Guru Granth Sahib, Bhagavad Gita. And she never really forced me to do part. And she would give me questions which, she says, the answer is within you. When you can answer these questions, your life will fall into place.
Wow.
And she would say, well, look, path of knowledge misleads you. Path of knowledge takes you to PhD or degrees, and the world begin to call you expert. And path of knowledge only works if you go to the end and have, in the worldly sense, 1,000 PhDs and then realize that you know nothing. And at that point, you begin to look deep within you.
Inwards. True.
And that is where lies the wisdom. I said, that's what all these scriptures are telling us. But we keep on worshipping them. Sometimes I have these lines come to me, and I'm not really a poet or anything, so I started writing these down.
Okay.
And I call them Khuda ki kalam se. So one of these poetry is, भगवान कहते हैं कि कैसा निराला है तुम्हारा ये चलन, अरे अपने ही बनाए हुए भगवान की पूजा करते हो और मेरे बनाए इंसान से बात भी नहीं करते। अरे भाई, जब तुम देख पाते हो मुझे अपने ही बनाए पत्थर की मूरत में, तो भला क्यों नहीं देख पाते मुझे मेरे ही बनाए इंसान की सूरत में? So those are the things which are coming to me at that time. And I said, I'm bankrupt anyways, it can't be any worse. So I'm going to start fresh. So I shared this information which was given to me by my attorney to the whole company. 80% walked away. Say, well, look, if you don't have the money, how are you going to pay us? We are not going to work. And the rest 20%, I convinced them to leave. And I went to colleges, local colleges and institutions, and hired these graduates who had no experience. Because you see, this country is very young. And if youngsters who are listening to this program are trying to find a mentor to follow something, they must realize that their true mentor lies within them. They have to put themselves into a difficult position. All the difficulties of this world are really opportunities wrapped in rags.
True.
So that is how I began.
So you restarted again.
Restarted again.
Okay. And then the rest, they say, is history. Because I think you really made it big, things worked very well. And then you decided that you want to kind of just collect the gains in terms of the financials, but move on away and not make more money, but to do something else.
Well, see, what I discovered, that there are three ways to succeed. One is you find a jyotsi or somebody who can give you some stones and you change your luck. But that didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
you tried it all?
No, I didn't, but I knew
but
that
internally it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work
Okay.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the second way is the worldly ways of this world. You work hard and you manipulate, you market and you tell half lies and you do whatever it takes you to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process file a couple of times bankruptcy so that you cheat and then you get there. And the world will talk about you because your net worth is several $billion. So there you're still successful. But that path I find that is like rowing your boat against the stream. So you're going to work very, very hard and you're going to get exhausted. And when you achieve that success, it really is a failure. You don't have any health left. Your family is completely disrupted. And your conscience is still asking you questions. So what? You got money. What happened? Where are you? So the third way, which in my journey I discovered,
Mm-hmm.
there are 9 laws of success. But they appear contrary to that they would work. And if you follow those laws, success is a byproduct.
Okay. So what in a sense you're saying, Ratnjit, and that is so true, that we had certain things given to us
Yes.
which were meant to serve the being in us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And what happened is that name, fame, glory, money, relationships were meant to help us evolve as individuals.
Yes.
But they became the masters and the being became the slave.
Yes.
So you were kind of just pulled in different directions by whatever was stronger at that particular point of time.
Yes. See, the thing which I realized that we are mistaking ourselves as this human body. अरे भेजा था तुम्हें एक इंसान के लिबास में, भेजा था तुम्हें एक इंसान के लिबास में, और तुम हो कि इस लिबास को ही खुद समझ बैठे.
How true.
अरे भाई, ना तुम जवान हो, ना बूढ़े, ना पुरुष, ना नारी, यह तो लिबास की महिमा है ना कि तुम्हारी.
Beautiful.
काश तुम पहचान सकते अपना ये असली रूप, अरे तुम में तो छुपा है स्वयं मेरा ही स्वरूप. See, what happens is, the question I generally ask audience is, why do very intelligent, learned, educated people do stupid things? They know better, right? The answer is really simple, scientific, is this, that this brain, which we consider our master, is basically a data gathering instrument. It collects data based through our five senses, what we see, what we read, what we experience, what we touch, what we hear. That's all the data accumulated. That is why your truth is different than my truth. And we keep on debating, we keep on arguing, we keep on killing people.
Because we want our truth to be your truth.
Yeah,
I think that's
we impose that
Yeah.
truth. And then this human body really is made out of the elements of this earth. And these elements of this earth change under changing condition. You take coal, carbon, graphite, you heat it at high temperatures, under high pressures, it becomes a diamond.
diamond. True.
Right? But who is carbon? Is the coal carbon or the diamond carbon? See, is converting coal into diamond is full potential, or finding who is carbon is full potential? See, once we discover the atomic structure of carbon, we understood this can react with so many other chemicals and gives us so many other. We discovered organic chemistry, pharmaceutical chemistry, biochemistry, all modern technologies, all based on knowing who carbon is. Otherwise, we were always in the race of becoming diamond.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, it's the tool which is going everywhere till you understand how to use the tool and what to do with it. What's the point of? I think you put it very beautifully. And there's this wonderful saying which says, we are not human beings undergoing a spiritual experience.
Yes.
We are spiritual beings undergoing a human experience.
Exactly. But see, so until I find who I am truly, I will not recognize and achieve my full potential. And I'll be always subjected to the changing conditions which will entice me to do things which I would otherwise not do. So until I find who I am, and that is what this book is all about.
Okay.
How oneness changes everything.
Okay. You know, also wanting to understand from you that we always want validation from outside.
Right.
So I'm good if you make me believe that I'm good.
If I have trophies, medals hanging on my head.
Right. That means how I feel about myself depends on how the others think about me.
Right.
And the day they start thinking differently, my opinion changes.
Yes.
Or who I am changes.
Yes.
Which is totally it's contradictory
Yes.
to what the being is.
Yes.
So this bit, as you said, why don't intelligent people know better? Or maybe they know better, but then how do you be better? How does this transition happen?
Well, see, you can act any character, but your true character cannot be an act. So what happens is that all these seminars and trainings, do you know, in US in 2012, they spent $170 billion on leadership training. And the articles and books written in last 10 years just on leadership exceed 1.5 trillion, 150,000 crores. And where are the leaders? Because we keep on giving them tricks. So if you speak with confidence, if you look into eyes, if you do this, you are able to communicate, and leaders should, you must have some authority, you must do this, and so all that is not working. Because ultimately, until you find that seed which has all the wisdom to bring about this giant tree, what kind of bark it should have, what kind of leaf it should have, what kind of fruit it should have, it's all there in that tiny little seed. So what is that seed which will make us successful? And that seed is understanding of who we are. And once I understand who I am, then automatically all these qualities come out of me.
And I think the core problem or the core issue is that we are always, as we grow up, not really taught to think of who I am.
Right.
And how do we see success? So we have such a warped notion of success.
Yes.
That becomes the end all.
Yes.
And the rest, which is critical to even achieving one part of that, just vanishes.
Yes. See, the thing which is very important, that by following these principles and knowing who you are operating in that mode. See, if I switch my brain from the body mode into who I am mode, where I exist, and that I is really the divine power within me and everyone else.
Which is the consciousness?
It's more than conscious, it's the power which enlivens you.
Okay.
Let me give you a scientific example. There are so many light bulbs in this room. They are designed differently, they are made by different companies. But when they are lit, what brings light in them, what makes them alive, is a live wire connection to the same powerhouse. Is the same electricity flows into them.
Okay.
So my concept of oneness comes from that understanding that you are sitting here alive, I'm sitting here alive, and people who are watching this program are sitting there alive. So what enlivens them is the same identical power. Now you can call it a superpower or universal energy or God or whatever you want to call it. It is the same. It's the same one.
Right.
And once you realize that you and I are part of the same one, but that realization only happens in that oneness mode. In the body mode, you are a separate entity. Your brain is attached to the body mode. It's always going to worry about what is in it for me.
Okay.
See, the body knows it has limited life. It's going to die. Its direction is always towards me. What is in it for me? It feels hungry. So everything is directed towards me. And we say generally, is kaam ko karne se kya fayda hai?
Right. Looking for benefit. Absolutely. Ji.
It is only in that energy mode, in that power mode, which enlivens your body, which has no limits. It does not die. It was there before it entered the body. It'll be there when it leaves the body. So that is who I am.
Okay.
So it's only in that mode, when brain is attached to that mode, it is fearless. It is in a mode to give rather than receive.
Right.
It is in a mode to add value, make a difference. Right now what we are doing is we are making a difference, and when I make a difference, I want trophies and medals. And they have also found that there is something called moral licensing. Means people who have cheated somebody, who make money the wrong way, they become the most charitable people. They give so much to the charities just to balance their act.
So I'm going to do a little balancing act. We're going to go in for a short break. But But when we come back, would like to understand from you, Ratanjit, that there is this oneness mode where
Yes.
you are the being and the
Yes.
higher being
Yes.
comes to the fore and the basic instincts are kind of controlled.
Right.
And there is this body mode.
Yes.
But we're living in a real world.
Yes.
So does one be in a constant state of one, or do you transition from one to the other, or can you live with both together?
Yes.
We'll talk about all that and a lot more after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're still in conversation with Ratanjit Sondhe, who's an entrepreneur and a proponent of value-based enterprise. If that value-based enterprise is life, that too. Ratanjit, talking of the being, where you are at one, and the higher level, and the physical body with its limitations, but which
Yes.
carries out all the karma and the
Yes,
activities.
yes, yes.
How do you transition between the two?
Well, see, first thing is, if we are not aware of it, we are always going to operate in the body mode, because body has great demands. It's constantly hungry, it's aching, and it needs entertainment. Kids says, I'm bored, I need to do something.
Like a restless child.
A restless child.
Okay.
So first you have to realize that there is something within you. The power is within you. There are many ways to get there. There are meditations, there are all kinds of realizations. But we have to be aware that a lot of people can call that as enlightenment. So you are enlightened. So what enlightenment is, again, going to oscillate between these two. Your body is still going to demand. But once you realize that body is given to you as a tool, and body is given to you as something by which you operate, go about, do things in this world. But if you don't have a purpose, and if your purpose is only to feed the body, then you are going to be totally engrossed in all these illegal activities. Anything goes. See, if somebody has given you a Maserati, a beautiful car, and you have no place to go, you're going to show around, you're going to go speed, and you're going to decorate, you're going to polish, your car becomes your life. But if you have a place to go, which is more important, much more engaging,
Then you don't need a Maserati.
then you don't need a Maserati, first of all, but then you keep the car running properly, you take care of it so that it gets you from one place to another. So then this becomes a gift, and it is no longer you, it is gifted to you as this human body,
As a means to
as a
go.
mean to
All
an
right.
end.
Okay.
But a lot of us don't know what I am here for. See, another realization is, once you realize who you are the power within you, and you see the same power in others, then you automatically have an incentive to serve that other power which presents in everyone else. We are here to serve that power.
So what's the purpose of life?
Purpose of life is to add value to that power which exists in another human being, another entity. So you are here simply to add value. Now in the oneness mode, the best way to understand is right from this human body itself. See, this human body has several organs, heart, liver, kidney, and they serve this body unconditionally, right?
Right.
They don't have a purpose but to serve this body. There are zillions of cells, life cells, in this human body. They sacrifice their very existence to fight disease and conditions which this body is not ready to accept. But then once a while, there comes a cell in our body which has its own agenda. It destroys the very body which feeds it. We call it a cancer cell. So imagine if I am operating in this world which is all one, I'm part of this bigger one, but I have my agenda which subtracts value. I'm thinking like a cancer cell.
Okay.
So you can't exist. That's why we have stress. That's why we have unhappiness. That's why we have all those conditions, because you are going against the stream, against the very design that nature has designed you.
I want to understand again, is there something called enlightenment, or are we all work in progress?
We are all work in progress. Because if the moment you meet anybody who claims to be enlightened, stay away from them.
Yeah. That's a paradox again.
That's a paradox.
Okay.
So it is always going to be, you can make a